Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy DGC once again. I am decided to put my weekly blog up this week, but I know this is about a month late. But I feel like tonight's topic I want to talk about is the World Cup. Yes, if you've been sleeping under a rock lately, that the World Cup will be coming to the U.S., Canada, and Mexico in 8 years' time in 2026. So the reason that the U.S. won the bid over Morocco is because you're talking about $23 billion in revenue for FIFA compared to $7 billion in revenue in Morocco. So that's the reason why the U.S., Canada, and Mexico won the bid. So there are three cities, 80 games overall, 10 each in Canada and Mexico, and 60 in the United States. 17 cities put in bids for 17 cities in the U.S. put in bids, 3 in Mexico and three in Canada. Edmonton, Toronto, and Toronto, and Montreal put in bids in Canada. Guadalajara, Mexico City, and I forget what's the third one. I'm sorry. Three cities put in bids in Mexico, and then there's 17 in the U.S. Um, Here are the 10 cities, in my opinion, who I think should host the World Cup in 2026. But let me go ahead and give you a list of the cities who actually made the cut and put in bids. They are in no particular order. It's Kansas City, Seattle, LA, San Francisco Bay Area, Denver, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, Miami, Orlando, Cincinnati. Then you've got DC, Boston, Philly, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore. I think I've got them all. I did get them all. And here are the 10 cities who I think should host a World Cup, who should host a World Cup match in the U.S. because I know how big that is, because we're talking about potentially billions of dollars here, millions of dollars towards the cities that actually get it, and like a lot of sponsorship, and we're talking about hotels and like a lot of big boosts for the economy. Um, Being that I'm from Baltimore and I live in Baltimore now, I would love to see a World Cup match here in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. It's going through its renovations right now. They're putting in almost about $300 million worth of renovations at the stadium, just because it's have more access to it. Definitely something that I would say would possibly get us is because we have transportation that leads right to the stadium. You have enough parking. You have hotels downtown. You have the training facilities with with the local universities, and amongst other things. And you have DC right down the road. So DC Baltimore would be a great 2-1-2 punch right there. DC would be the other one because it's the capital city. It would be in Landover at FedEx. Would be the one thing that would definitely keep it there. It would be at FedEx, which holds about 80,000. Another one would probably be New York because of MetLife, about an hour, and it's right there in the Meadowlands, right across the river from New York. Can't have it without in the biggest city in the world, without having the biggest city in the world in one of the most populated cities in the world on that list. Boston would potentially be 4 because of the fact that the geographical range between all 5 of the cities that are on the East Coast, which is Philly, Baltimore, DC, New York, and Boston, all within an Acela train ride from each other. So that saves on travel. That'd be one of the big things that you would have it on the East Coast for, would be that. Atlanta would be 5 because you got to have a southern city. Mercedes-Benz Stadium has a capacity. It's a brand new stadium that was just built. Has a capacity of about 75,000, close to 80,000. Would be another thing that I think would definitely help with that. Um, I would say possibly Miami would be 6. And I know I have an East Coast bias, but Miami could definitely be 6 with Hard Rock Stadium. That play, if you ever been down and watched the Dolphins game there, is definitely something that's worth watching. The sixth city is LA for sure, because LA will potentially host the final with that new stadium out in Inglewood. But the bid suggested it had to be built right as the moment, so they put the Rose Bowl as the potential city, as the site. But with a capacity of 92,000, the Rose Bowl is definitely going to be the place where they host the final, because in 1994 it has hosted a previous World Cup. And the eighth potential city is Seattle. CenturyLink Field with the home of the Sounders. Very, very, very big stadium. Very loud house. I would definitely say Seattle would definitely be in the running. Ninth, in my opinion, is Dallas with AT&T Stadium. Definitely something. You got another southern city that could potentially host, with that stadium definitely being one of the bigger ones. And Jerry Jones, as powerful as he is in the NFL ranks, definitely would be something that you would have to have at AT&T Stadium. And 10th and final city, which I think should host a World Cup match, which I hope does, would definitely be San Francisco. Santa Clara, San Francisco, San Jose. That area with Levi Stadium out in Santa Clara, definitely something that's beholding of a city that deserves to host a World Cup match. It's like the stadium, the facilities is brand new. It's one of the more beautiful stadiums in the NFL. And I feel like if you could prove, it's got to prove it. It's got this work, but it has like this beauty that just says like you got to have a match there. Well, that's my 10 cities that I think should definitely host a World Cup match. But I know that Nashville with Nissan Stadium is one of the underdogs. Kansas City is another one, because Kansas City is definitely another underdog. Cincinnati is another one. Philly, potentially an underdog, but you never know with these cities and how FIFA is, because if you've had competitions at your stadium, you definitely should be a shoo-in to get one of the cities. Should be one of the cities that host, because you have already done it before. Cities like Philly, New York, Baltimore, DC have hosted. Boston has hosted. Kansas City has hosted the World Cup before. San Francisco is still kind of new. LA, the Rose Bowl, yes. I would say Dallas potentially, because it hosted it at Texas Stadium back in the day in '94. Houston, I would rule out Houston, because Houston is it's too new of a stadium for me, in my opinion. It's a little bit too new, but it's definitely something that you want to keep in mind when you do it. But with that, I would say that Houston probably will be off of my list. Cincinnati too. But those are the things that I think should be into a stadium that potentially hosts the World Cup. But really, I'm rooting for Baltimore, Atlanta, and hopefully DC. But we'll see what happens in 2 years when it comes around. But if you if you have a comments, think of a city that I missed, or a city that you think should be on the list, definitely leave it in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe. All right, till next time, I'm out. Deuces.